just read it and we'll take it
Oh,
from there.
you sure? Okay. All right. This is on page 468 of the fourth edition of the big book, and it's called it's the story is called Listening to the Wind. And I'm just going to read one paragraph out of it that really I asked a friend if she had some information as a suggestion, and it was given to me, and I read it, and it really I liked it. So here we go. It's the first full paragraph on page 468. The thing that kept me sober until I got a grip on honesty was the love in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I made some friends for the first time in my life, real friends that cared, even when I was broke and feeling desperate. At 22 months of sobriety, I was finally able to complete an honest inventory. The fifth step enabled me to see my part in my resentments and fears. In the chapter, How It Works, in the big book, I was shown some questions. The answer to these questions provided me with knowledge about my reactions to the conditions in my life. Every response to every resentment, real or imagined, had been sick and self-destructive. I was allowing others to control my sense of well-being and behavior. I came to understand that the behavior, opinions, and thoughts of others were none of my business. The only business I was to be concerned with was my own. I asked my higher power to remove from me everything that stood in the way of my usefulness to him and others, and to help me build a new life. So I hope that inspires something to talk about there, Paul. Once again, that was page 468. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Paul, nice to see everyone. Grateful member of recovery of AA. If anyone's new here, could you just raise your hand? So, Michael, can you tell me?
No, I don't see anybody that's raised their hand.
Sabrina raised her hand. Sabrina.
Oh,
I just want to make clear for Sabrina and everyone again to reiterate, the platform of these talks is based on really a conclusion I was brought to, and then everything was reverse engineered. But we're putting out that the exact nature of the wrong is the act of being identified as self, that which has defeated us. We're in the act of being identified as that, as long as we're enslaved to the mental activities, yes, where the problem resides. That's very important to me. All the other stuff, the program is sound, incredible principles and stuff, but the diagnosis of the exact nature of the wrong, obviously, by the amount they use the word self, it's pretty obvious that what self meant to them was that which has defeated them. And in the statement we base everything on page 64, it makes a very clear differentiation from self and us. It says, being convinced, self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. So we could just say self defeated us. It's self, comma, manifested in various ways, comma, is what has defeated us. So self is what has defeated us. Yeah? So even let's take out the manifestation. So self and us are not the same thing. This is the whole point. Now, if you believe they're the same thing, then you are the problem, in a sense, yes? And being the problem, that's going to be a tough mountain to override. But if you've been had by the problem, there's a possibility of freedom from that problem, yeah? If you're not that problem, you have a possibility of being freed from it, yeah? If you are the problem, you got to have it rehabilitated, yeah? And we've realized, a lot of us, it's sort of like herding cats. It's trying to change, a tiger and get the stripes out of it. It's just, it's just It's what has failed us. Yeah. Any life run on self-will will hardly be a success. So the recognition that self was a foreign agent, or I used to use the term parasitical movement, demonic possession, whatever triggers a sense of otherness is what we're really looking for. Because in that triggering of the sense of otherness, the possibility of being free from it became available in my case. Yes, it happened very quickly, and yet it's made a profound effect on me for 30 something years. Yeah. So this is the premise, this is the platform. And then when we speak about everything else, we're really speaking about it from there. So when Kurt always brings up we suffer from self-imposed whatever, he used to think that he was imposing on himself, and then he started to see that self was something foreign imposing its will on him. Now that second expression is the view that we're speaking of. Yes? Yes. I do not believe you have defeated you. I don't. I believe something has defeated us. Yeah? And I'm actually convinced that it's what we call self. If you look in other ways, spiritual ways and stuff, it'll be called something else. But in recovery, we call it small s self. Yeah? Now, what does that mean? Well, it goes to a point where on one of the pages where it talks about the person will be virtuous, kind, generous, but it still may be driven by self. Yes? So how are you going to get out of self as self? Yeah? We've tried before we got into recovery. I would say most of the activity I was doing while getting loaded was an attempt to get out of self. I didn't realize I was doing it as self. I thought I was doing it as Paul. And all my defeats and inabilities to get out of self successfully, I could for a minute or two, but the hell and the consequences that followed, in my case, were, I was willing to pay those consequences to get that 3 minutes of relief. Yeah. But obviously, I failed miserably, which just fueled more self-obsession. Yeah. I couldn't even get out of this thing that was completely defeating me in my life. Yeah, I'm fucking a loser, whatever you want to call it. But in fact, that inability to get out of it has great value when you look at it in a certain way. When you see it as from what we're sharing, which is the exact nature, is the identification as self, you will see that Paul was the act of being identified as self, trying to get out of self. And as we, in many of our communities where I got sober in San Francisco, self can't get out of self is a very primary thing that's spoken about, yeah? Or at least uttered. Maybe not described that well, but it was a culmination of a lot of us trying to get out of self as self. So they came to a conclusion, and it became a statement in our community: self cannot get out of self. What explains that perfectly is the act of being identified as self as something other than self. It's not self identified as self. It's something other than self identified as self. And when you see that you may not be self, you're going to find out that which is not identified as self. Yeah? You'll find out finally what you are. Yeah? By realizing what you're not. And so, are you going to stop judging? Are you going to stop comparing? Are you going to stop worrying about next week? Are you going to stop going back into the past and thinking what if, or I should have, or stuff like that? Probably not. Yes? But what could happen is, could you lose interest in all those activities? Yes. You can lose interest in those activities. So when a judgment occurs, it won't have the impact and the meaning it used to, because the thing that's giving it the meaning is the one who's judging. And that's where we're finding relief. We're not the one who judges all day. Yes? It doesn't mean there isn't judging all day. I've attempted that. It doesn't work. Yeah? The programmed system judges. Yeah? And you look at it to try to change a judgment, and that's a judgment, really. A judgment that something has to be changed. You're not going to get out of it, I don't feel. But you can lose interest in being in it. That's the beauty. The beauty of this message is you're not going to move mountains. You're not. You're going to see them as molehills. Yeah? You're going to lose interest in the judging, because what's really important in the judging is that it's you judging. Yes? And you shouldn't judge and go, and it just propagates itself over and over again every time it claims a topic, which is just happening. This is what the programming does. It believes in time. It's going to think about a future, and it's going to go into the past. Yes? It believes those are real doors. So it constantly goes back in there. Are you going to convince it they're not? Good luck. Many of us have tried and it's failed. But you can lose interest in that which thinks it goes into the future and thinks that goes in the past. And you'll find relief, not in the way you thought you'd have to do it, but because you lose interest in it. Yes. You lose interest in resentments, really. It's just too much fucking effort to be resentful, really. You got to rationalize. You got to probably sell it to a few people to get some agreement. You got to do a lot of shit. You just lose interest in all that. Yes, you do. That's been my experience. My experience of seeing self as other than us has brought about a huge loss of interest in all the topics that self takes so fucking seriously. Yes, it keeps going there, but I'll tell you, if I don't go along with it, it's hollow. Yeah. You can get out of what you're not in. You can. Yeah, you can, by not doing fucking anything. So this idea, the crusade of stop judging, I just don't see it as a winning formula, because the program, that's what it's based on. But losing interest in the one, yes? The one, this idea of us, not our real sense of us, but the idea of us that has overridden the sensing of what we really are by taking an interpretation from the mental condition where the problem resides. What fueled the beast was the alcohol and drugs. What built the beast was self, the selfing. Yes? So this is, I found great relief and very reliable relief. And I can trace it back to the recognition the program will change the action figure. Yeah? But what really needs to change is the identification as the action figure. Yeah? It says it, you're going to get caught either way. You'll be virtuous and kind, and it's still self-centered, and it's still self-centeredness. How are you going to win? Yeah? We're just questioning the one who's judging, questioning the one who thinks that motherfucker did something to me. That's what we're questioning. Yes? In the mental condition, resentments are valid. They thrive on them. It gives you excuses and rationales for other shit you can't understand. Yeah? Yeah? Your failure can be covered up. Someone prevented me. Yeah? So these things in and of the system They're parts and parcel. They feed the system. That's why a resentment, its shelf life is pretty short, but my resentment can be fucking cultivated for 50 years. That's not you doing it. That's the activity of self doing it. Yes? So here's our life juice given over to self. And then we leave a life of self-will that's hardly going to be a success. Yeah. Does that mean we got to get more, sharper self-will? No. It's maybe having the will directed by something other than self is going to be the basis of success. And it's not going to look like the idea of self's idea of success. It may be the success of living, enjoying peace of mind, being available to others, sensing this presence. To me, that's success, yes? Being at peace. So, yeah. I feel the real relief that reverberates is at the exact nature of the wrong. I do. I think that echo has the most reverberation, I feel. So it was profoundly different. It was it was a reliance on a higher power program, not a self-help program. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. It's a rainy day in Northern California, our first one. Yeah. Can you hear the chimes going on? Nice.
Yes.
Now, if you were sitting here and thinking about buying Coke, I bet you wouldn't be hearing the chimes. I bet you wouldn't. You wouldn't even know it was fucking raining. You would probably thought it's been raining for weeks. You'd be totally out to lunch. Yeah? Or burning over what somebody did. You wouldn't be hearing the chimes. You'd be listening to the head go over a fucking story over and over again to prove that you were right. Yeah? And then calling other people while the chimes are playing to bitch about, you know what, that's and get some agreement to create a collective mass of justified resentment. This isn't you, it's self. If the higher power, remember they said the agenda for us of the higher power is us to be happy, joyous, and free. That sure doesn't align with the self's agenda. It just wants to be right and you wrong, usually. Yeah? But maybe the underlying aspect fits perfectly with the higher power's agenda, which is happiness, joy, and freedom, or I would say contentment, joy, and freedom. Yeah? I think what we are is completely aligned with that agenda, the higher power agenda. It's the middleman. It's the idea of self. Yeah, that's fucking diverts everything. Yeah. So, yeah. And how can you lose interest in it as it? You can't. You can't lose interest in self as self. That's more interest in self. Yeah. Maybe see, just let it in. That just maybe that thing which has defeated you isn't you. Just maybe, yeah? And then read some of the statements in the book where it uses the word self like 4 times in one sentence, obviously pointing to that which has defeated us, yes? Self-pity, self-this, self-that. Go to a dictionary, look up the word self, and then usually they have a hyphen and then attributes. And there's like 90 of them. There's self-love, self-trust, but let's say the positive is like 10% and the negative is like 90%. Self-immolation, self-hate, self-destruction. I mean, it's insane. Could you imagine? Yes, you must. Oh, go to the dictionary. You'll see many of the ways self has defeated us. Self-immolation, probably that was the last time you saw how it defeated you. Self-destruction, you're getting close to the last time. Self-hate, now that will probably continue for a long time. Self-mistrust. Self-mistrust, not in self. That's incredible faith, mistrusting everyone else, but completely having faith in the head. This program has given us an opportunity to be free from the chaotic consequences of active using and drinking, with the hopes that we could get down to the exact nature of the situation, yeah? And find true relief and have contentment and satisfaction as the basis we start from, instead of anxiety and remorse, yeah? Yeah. The day doesn't paint us, we paint the day, really. The day is a canvas, and we're the painting of it. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, man. I'm happy to be here, and welcome, new and old.
All right. Well, this is the time for people to ask questions. So Paul, please use the raise hand feature. And anybody like to ask a question today?
What's happened, Bubba? Here's the true master.
Yeah.
There she is. Yes.
Yeah.
You're not suffering from what's not happening.
I hope you saw her. Yeah. Did you see Fatso?
Yes. Yeah.
See, I gave her the name. It doesn't match the reality. She's thin, but we call her Fatso. There she goes. She's coming. Yeah. Fatso, give them some knowledge.
Right on. Well, hey, Paul, we have Gail. She has her hand up and she has a question. So,
Hi, Paul. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be able to come to these sessions. They really do feed my soul. You said something about that what really needs to be changed is identification with the action figure. So we come into these rooms with our addictions and that gets relieved. And so all of that bad, quote unquote, unskillful behavior changes to more skillful behavior. So we go from, like you said, we go from the thief to the cop. But what you're saying is that there's something, is it in between those two? Is it trying to find middle ground, or is it beyond both of those? Could you expound on that just a little bit more? Um, yeah.
Well, you can say stuff, but it's best to find out. But you could say it's before. And I would say in AA, you're placed in a position of neutrality. I think that captures it a lot.
Okay.
Yes? So you're placed in a position of neutrality. It completely neuters your idea of being the doer. Yes? It says
Yeah.
you're placed in a position of neutrality. That's not a one-off. That's how it goes. You're placed, it's given. Yes?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So you see your role as the big mover and shaker gets minimized. And then you have the recognition on a much broader level of something's doing for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. Becomes basically one of the platforms you live from. Yeah. Yeah. And after years, it gets fortified, not doubted. Yes, it gets reinforced by observation. not put into question.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like you can say beyond or before or between. Yeah. I don't, you and I aren't going to change it, but by hearing it, it may change. That's my feeling.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes. The idea of the act of being identified. You don't have to change the identification. You never been. It's an act of being identified. Yeah. Which means like running is an act, but usually it can stop. Yeah. You're not running 24/7. Yes. So you're not established in self. You're in the act of being identified as it. Yeah. So that act could be interrupted or seen. Yeah. Because I'm truly believing you're not doing the act. I think the mental state is doing the act. Yeah. The head is doing the act of being identified as self, and we're taking ourselves to be the head. Yeah. So, yeah. So if that weakens, the identification or the act of identification will be seen as just that, an act. It doesn't verify an identification. You're not self, nor will you ever be self. And you're never really bound to self. There's an act of being bound. Yeah. But there's no binding. You know how sometimes you get way up your ass and then like in a nanosecond you're free. You just pop out of it, yeah, and it's looked like it took no effort or time or thought to get out. It just happened so fast. Well, yeah, that's what it's like. That's when the spell of that the act of being identified is trying to spin gets broken. It's very sudden, and yeah, it doesn't take. Oh, it's going to take 3 weeks to break it. No, yeah, it's like that. Yes. Like it says in the book, you suddenly realize that something's doing for you what you could not do for yourself. It's like a rush almost, yeah? Yeah, so you think, oh, it took me all this time to get up the ass of self, but then I'm out of it like that. Well, because you've never been up the ass of self. It was the act of being identified as being up the ass of self. You see?
Okay.
Yes. So this is what starts getting broken. Is you start seeing through this shit, and then it's little magic spell of, oh, you're really, really disconnected. You're so far gone. You're so out of this moment. You don't buy it anymore. And then you find not buying it, the fact is true that you never have left any moment. You've always been here. Yes?
It's like I was under a spell and the spell has been broken.
Yes. And then the point is we have these talks to, keep that condition going. We want the spell is going to keep being spun. We want the state of it being broken to be reinforced. Yes.
Got it.
If your belief that the head's going to stop doing shit, I don't believe that's true. The head is not functioning as you. It functioning as itself. It's doing its thing. Yeah. And our attention and interest seems to be wedded to it and obsessed with it. And I believe it's because we believe we're that which it's ideating, what it's making up, this idea of self. Yes. I think it's definitely almost as if a spell or a trance is being suggested. Yeah. So you like when they do people in hypnotism and they make them act like a chicken. When they come out, they don't have to become an unchicken. They realize they never were a chicken. Yes.
Okay.
They believe they were a chicken while they were under the spell. When they're out of the spell, I got to get out of being a chicken. That's not what happens. You're just relieved. There's like a peace. Yeah. You don't have to get out because you were never in. That's the good news. And after tons of examples that you don't have to get out because you're never in, you start realizing what you're in, which gives you an immunity to believing you're out all the fucking time. Yeah, so we have this platform to me is wonderful because in time, shit that's unforgettable can seem to be forgotten. Yes, so we're combating time, which how the head uses time to repeat its fucking story. We're using time to investigate that story. Yeah, yeah. So this has been a wonderful gift for me to be able to come here for a couple of years and have a platform to put it out without tons of different topics and shit. Yeah, which is, in other venues, that's how things go. So we can have a point that we try to stay on all the time, every week.
Mhm.
Yeah, or bring everything back to that same point. That's a great gift.
Mhm.
Yeah, for me, really, seriously. Yeah, because a lot of times when this is shared, and then there's another hour of sharing and all these other things, it gets sort of put in with all the sharings. But this sharing is about the exact nature of the wrong, and I think it's good to put it on its own platform and see what it does to the rest of the stuff. Yeah. So I want to thank David, who started all this, and everyone else who does service here, and you, Gail. I'm very happy to see you, and it's good to have a Pink Cloud resident here. It
Absolutely. Yeah. It gets
brings a nice.
reinforced. When I come here, that pink cloud gets reinforced because I'm very much experiencing a lot of what you're saying. And this is the one place where I come and I feel like people get, that concept of like when I'm walking down the street, I don't feel like I'm being walked. The walking is happening. I mean, I'm having those types of dishes get washed. It's like, I mean, I feel like I'm like not doing anything almost. It's the weirdest thing. It's just a new up is down, down is up, so to speak. But the effortlessness of which I'm experiencing life as I move through it doesn't mean that things don't come up. Is astonishing and amazing and but when I come here, it's like I settle in and I listen to you and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is okay. Life doesn't have to be hard. It's
Yes, so
okay.
this is
Yeah,
what it is,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. Thank
It's
you,
just
Paul.
reinforcement.
Yeah.
See, because some of us in the effects of recovery need a certain kind of reinforcement.
Mhm.
Now, there's a lot of platforms to support a lot of other ways of reinforcing, and this is one to support this. Yeah, to support and reinforce this idea. So, as a group, we do it, and it produces a larger effect than what we could do individually. So, kudos to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Seriously. Yes. Because this isn't the way things usually go. They like to keep this down, so to speak. So it's sort of like a flower that's growing in a hostile environment. It needs tending, or it will sort of go by the wayside. Yeah. So here we hope we are all honoring it, and this is it gives it more life here, where other, there's there's a lot of things trying to swim up to the surface to get their fucking gulp. Yeah, you got a lot of shit, a lot of what's not happening being presented. So we need repetition to keep this sort of, yeah. I feel anyway. Yeah, I've watched where people with a lot of stuff going on, this message will get through, but it doesn't last for a day or two because of all the stuff. So having a platform of putting it out there for years it's like a dream really for me. It's I'm very grateful for this situation. I am, yeah, because life swallows things up. The way life is seen, it can get very hectic and everything. And so people will they'll get an aha, but that aha gets drowned out by the mundane chorus that keeps being sang over and over again. But you're still fucked, but you're still fucked. It's never gonna, yes. So it's like sort of trying to emphasize. Yeah. Yeah. The head's not gonna throw a parade for this idea. It's really basically sees it as a threat usually. Yeah. It does. So thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you, Gail.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, Paul, we have Sabrina. Sabrina has a question. Please unmute and ask. Thank you.
Hi, so I came to the non-duality meeting last week and I was the newcomer there. I had heard you speak about self and selfing and my resentments and my fears, and if it's a resentment and a fear. And I really, that hit home and my head got quiet. Now my head has been quiet a couple of times in my life, and I just knew that I was going to spend more time listening to you, because again, I agree that, and I could be wrong, but for me, it feels like right now I need that hammered in, you know, because I get to points where I'm just in self and I can hear my thoughts and not follow. But there's other times when the thoughts come and my thoughts are to follow the thoughts. So that's why I came here and why I'm probably going to keep coming back to both meetings every once in a while. But there were two lines in what was read today that I was wondering if you could talk about. The first one that made me laugh was every response to every resentment, real or imagined. And I laughed about that because to me, this is a dream world entirely. So it's all imagined. There is no real. Had been sick and self-destructive. And then a little bit further down, it says the only business I was to be concerned with was my own. And I'm not sure I really love that wording. Do you have any thoughts on those lines?
Yes. Well, again, it can be read in a lot of ways. Yeah. So the idea of, let's say you felt like you've lost your life, and then it's really nice when you start doing esteemable acts and then your life seems to come back. Yeah. And so now what I should be concerned about is my own thing. But that's also a phase. Yeah. And there can be other waves that happen. Just like, we admit our role in everything, and then hopefully you see something else's role in everything. Yeah, that's the point. So I don't believe the waves of recovery stop after 2 or 3. I think there's more waves. The people who wrote the book had only been at the beach for 4 years. So they only saw a certain amount of waves. And I feel like we've been around a while and there's more waves. And then I think the wave of accountability, which comes after responsibility, isn't standardized in our community. Yeah, I think it could be. You know what I mean. I think we get stuck in a three-wave continuum, and I believe recovery progresses. Yeah, and so first, when I was young, I was super responsible. I thought if I walked in a room and someone yawned, I thought it was because I was boring. Yes, it was really a strange, weird responsibility, which I wanted to get free of, and drinking and using and fucking up sort of did that. And then I was brought back to taking responsibility in recovery by the inventory. Yeah. And then by looking at my role in things, I saw something else's role in things, which was self's role. And then that led to, I did all the amends, I did the inventories, I took responsibility, for the past and everything, but I was brought to a different attitude around it, called accountability. Yeah, like, yes, it was my dog that shat on the neighbor's lawn, but I did not shit on the neighbor's lawn. Yes, but yes, my dogs did, but I didn't. Yeah, that distinction became very clear. Yeah, in this sobriety, and it hasn't become unclear since. Yeah, so I truly believe that we were driven to do a lot of stuff. Yeah, and that we're not the cause of that. And so I disagree with statements like we manufacture our own misery. I don't believe that. We are the problem. We are, in a way, only because we're the solution. That's why not knowing you're the solution is a problem. Yeah. So we are the problem, not knowing we're the solution, which is what the spiritual awakening is, in a sense. So now you know you're the solution. So these things happen. And of course, because the book was written, I don't believe a lot of the effects of recovery have been captured, yes, as a standardized format or something. And yeah, so when I read, someone read something last week, the same thing. It sounds like another attempt to control, yeah. So, which is all selfing. And this is the dilemma I was speaking about in the beginning, because when you read that thing that the person who's driven by self can be virtuous, kind, and stuff, you see, you're not going to change that stuff. What you can change is the interest in it. Yeah. See, self is self, but it's the obsession with self that causes something. Yes. Self is an activity. It's a stream. It's a narrative. But when it becomes the whole fucking river, we get washed away by it. Yeah. So it's not self. It's the obsession with self, the identification as self. Self is nothing. It's an idea, but it's us given over to that idea that makes it something. Yes? The bondage of self is not made by self. Yeah? Self just presents us. It's a mental story that's presented. Yeah? Somehow, our role in it is we get totally up the ass of self, totally obsessed with it. And I'm not calling it, as Paul, a body getting obsessed. What we are seems to be drawn to this idea to the point where it loses sense, really. Yeah. It becomes insane in a way. And then we seek relief from it, but the relief is actually for it. So we give the diseases, we give the mental aberration its food, drinking and drugs, and then it goes totally flamboyant as us. Yeah. And even though we've been slapped around, we still don't see the exact nature of the situation. Yeah. Something is playing God with our God juice. Yeah. That's why it says quit playing God. Quit playing God isn't being directed to that which is playing God. It's being directed to us so that we can see we're not that which is playing God. Yeah. It doesn't say, when, let's say there's quit drinking. Drinking doesn't stop. Yeah. People are drinking. You're drinking water and milk and shit like that. There's a quitting of playing God. It's not you playing God. You lose interest in it. Yeah. Just like I didn't quit drinking. I actually lost interest in it completely. I don't have any interest. Everything I thought I saw in alcohol and drugs, I don't see anymore. I don't see them bringing me any relief. Yeah. So I truly believe the problem resides in the mind. And we're the fuel for that problem. Yeah. It's our interest and attention that gives meaning and weight to the insane narrative of self. Yeah. So we become occupied by what's not happening, and we're and then in the head anything can happen. It can make up tons of shit. Yeah. And then we did it last week. You're afraid to be destitute, but you're not even, that's not it. You're afraid what it means to be destitute. And all those meanings come from self. Well, I failed. Okay, what does that mean? I'm bad. What does that mean? I don't deserve anything. What does that mean? No one's ever going to love me. What does that mean? Yeah, it's all, it's never the thing. I'm afraid I'm getting fired. It's not the fired, it's what it means. Yes? The meaning the head is giving, everything is what we're reacting to. And most of us have no idea about the layers of meaning. We just think because we're getting fired. Yeah? But it's not that. Yet we seem to be so self-aware, but the self-awareness makes us completely unaware, seemingly, about what's going on. Yeah? So this is a switch. Let's be aware of self. And then we'll see we're not that. Do you want any more self-awareness? Haven't you had enough of self-awareness? Just how about aware of self? If you're aware of self, you'll have a very strong hit. It's not you, and you'll lose interest in it. Yes, you will. And you know what keeps a resentment alive for 50 years is our interest in it. A resentment in the wild can't last for more than 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, it comes, you get pissed, and then it disappears. My resentment gives it a life for 65 years. We're giving it life. We're breathing life into it. Yeah, that's our role in things. So, yeah, obviously we've seen the role self has in our life. We've given it a huge role, haven't we? And when you give it a huge role, you learn not to know anything else could be possible, really. Yeah? It's like a jealous God. It doesn't want any other God to be put before it, even near it or behind it. It just wants to be it. And then it leads to such an incomprehensible, demoralizing, pitiful state that some of us come around. And we go through a process of recovery. Yeah? And then that unsuspected inner resource now becomes suspected and starts having a huge role in our life. Yes?
The line that you quoted, I can actually, it's your show here, but where it says, but we are clear that we made our own misery. After listening to you a few times now, I can see that following my identity with self is what created my own misery.
Yes. Made it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly.
And then
That's
it says
the
God
thing.
didn't do it, and I like that because that's
Yes. You're like a factory, yeah, that produces shit. That factory can produce cars or fucking tanks. It's based on who's running the factory. So when self runs our factory, and our factory's expression and then observation of it all, that when it's running factory, it produces misery. That's one of the things, one of its main product lines. Yeah? Yeah. I'm not a believer that we produce misery. I think misery gets expressed through us by what's running us. So if self's running the factory, it produces these products, and you learn about the tree by its fruits, as Jesus says. You can't see the tree, but you'll know the tree from its fruits. So you see the movement of self in one's life by recognizing its manifestations and hopefully not calling them yours, really. Seriously. So manifestation one is resentment. Where does it say my resentment? It's not yours. It's a resentment that has you, really. You think you have the luxury of having resentments. No, the resentment has you. Really. Yeah. I mean, we've got some insane ways of looking at things, really. Yeah. So, yes, thanks. Nice to see you, Sabrina.
All right, Paul, I don't see any other hands up today.
That's cool. What time is it now?
It's 11:25.
Oh, we have 5 more minutes, so we'll have a long goodbye.
No, hell no. I got one.
Okay.
Oh, someone came in, John from Florida.
Morning,
Rob.
John.
Oh no, Kentucky, I think. No, who?
Oh, Rob.
Yeah, I'm down there visiting John in Florida. We're hanging out, man, having a big party.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah, it's good, man. Look, I'm still writing a 4-step, but it's only like 10 resentments and 15 principles. And then I wrote out 5 traumas. And you did cocaine, you said, and I did cocaine, and some horrific things happened. And there's like 5 of them, and I just wrote them out. I just wrote out like 5 paragraphs on each one, and that's it. And I'm scared to death. Actually, to tell John, I'm going to do it tomorrow, probably next week, and read them out. And I was just curious what your take was on, you know, I know you went through some trauma or whatever, some horrific events when you were on cocaine that were just painful, unbelievable. I'm not going to get into detail, but that's what it was. There's like 5 of them that I really freaking hate. So,
Well, just do it. I wouldn't put it off. Share it with John today, if you can. Yeah. Did you hear me?
I'm muted. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Share it as soon as possible with him. Go over it. And remember, the third party is that higher power. Yeah. And then just share with it, and you'll see you'll face life successfully. Like telling the truth about things, you'll see that you can face life successfully. A lot of people do not believe they're facing life successfully if they tell the truth. Yeah. So
That's one of my sponsors always says. I go blah 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 blah. He said, "Why don't you just tell the truth?" I'm like, "Oh, okay."
yeah, and do it now. Do it as soon as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why put it off? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a question.
Yeah, I like getting shit when they come right out of the oven if possible. It's good. The more you let it sit around, the mental state puts different icings on the cupcakes. You miss the whole point. Yeah. It's not about us.
It's not 50 years old, thank God. It's not.
It's not about us. It's about us being of maximum use. And we don't know what that means, but hopefully you'll find out. Yeah.
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 I'm digging.
And it'll be helpful to John too. He'll learn a lot.
Yeah. Cool, man. Thanks.
Yeah. Don't dwell on it. I mean, seriously. Yeah. Just get to the point of it. But,
I literally wrote it when I was up here at Gethsemane, and then I wrote it, got done. I put an envelope. I ain't thought about it or looked at it since then, and then I came down here.
oh yeah, do it. Yeah, do it soon. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, yeah. You move on.
Grow up.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. The throw up, it has a lot of good food in it.
You're a beast.
Poison is that if you let it stay in the body. If you throw it up, you're gonna get a lot of value out of it. Yeah. Yeah, that's not the path I took with all that because I would say every day was traumatic. Really. I mean,
Yeah.
you can tell some big stories, but basically, uh, it was incomprehensibly demoralizing. And I like to put like thousands of apples in one bushel basket. Yeah. Don't go through every apple. Yeah. So, yeah, I think the real trauma is the traumatizing effect of the head.
Right.
Yeah, shit happens in life, things happen. Uh, but there's a lot of additions put to it with the head. Yes. What is it? Please relieve us of the suffering.
I mean, I definitely could have wrote out 50 traumas, but I just wrote out 5. Just to get, you know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. You're not a big game trauma hunting.
Yeah.
No,
No,
I
far
got
from
I got the big head of a trauma lion. No,
that.
see, it's what's underneath it. See your role in it, and then see self's role in it.
Yeah.
Tell the truth. Yeah, yeah. Please. If you start seeing self's role and see the value of seeing self's role in the past is that you may see it in the present. That's its value. Yeah. You may not be able to recognize it in the present moment, so you come to that ability by recognizing it in the past. That's putting good use to time. Yeah. So
Mhm.
in the past, when it's not so active, you can go over it and see the patterns of how self has defeated you. Yes. With
Oh,
the
shit.
hope that you'll recognize it's starting to get ready to defeat you in the present. So that way the past defeats will be past defeats. They won't be recurring defeats. Yes?
Yeah.
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 So get a clarity about self then, and you'll see self now. Yes.
Oh, shit.
That's the importance. And then when you see self, offer it up to fucking the higher power. Yeah. You can't arrest self as self, but self can be arrested by the higher power. Yeah. Self isn't going to arrest self. That's like the policeman thief. But self can be arrested by the higher power. The activity of selfing can be arrested by the higher power. Yeah. Yeah. Tell the truth. Tell the truth and take it to 6 and 7, and you'll be given the eyes to see what has defeated you before the defeat, not after the defeat. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of times I used to put my foot in the mouth and then have to go through 2 days of pulling it out. A lot of times that movement of putting my foot in the mouth is diverted. It just goes by. No one's the wiser. But it could have been a lead up to a big emotional hangover, but it passes because I'm in the habit of not putting the foot in the mouth anymore. It's not I'm not doing it. I'm in the habit of it not happening. Yeah. And it has momentum, that habit. Yeah, it does. So this is a good day to start. Share the shit. And yeah.
Cool, thanks.
This is all about the habit of being sober. Just like we were in the habit of using and fucking doing whatever the way we get in the habit of being sober, where it's this. I don't think about, let's say, I don't think about going to a meeting. I think about which one. Yes. So I'm in the habit of being sober. Yeah.
Yeah. I see
Yeah.
that.
This is what it's nice to recognize it when it's established. A lot of people it's established, but they don't even see it. They're still in the fear. They're gonna, no, you're in the habit of being sober. Yeah. Fucking rely on that. It's powerful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
When
see
you
that.
see a lot of times really it's pragmatic in this view. It's just too much fucking work to get sober again, if you're lucky. I mean, it's sort of like, Why would I want to jump off the horse if I'm going to be dragged back to the same fucking horse? I might as well just well learn how to just stay on the horse. I've learned. I try to jump off of life many times, and I'd
Yeah.
always be dragged back to fucking life again. So I learned I'm not, no. Just stay on the horse, see what happens.
Ride the horse.
You're gonna get dragged back anyway. I mean, I love when I see in AA people hate Alcoholics Anonymous. They go out and they have to come back to Alcoholics Anonymous. Nothing else works.
That's so awesome. I've seen it too. It's hilarious.
That's such a drag.
Especially
I
when
hate
you
it. And then there they are.
especially when you know them and you hang out with them and they say all that shit and they're all back.
That's right. Yeah. I'll show them. I'll show AA. Oh, yeah. No, you'll show up in AA. That's what will happen.
Yeah.
You're not going to show AA shit. You're going to show up in AA again.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So, yeah, I learned about staying on the horse a long time ago. Now, that wouldn't help. That knowledge, if claimed by self, wouldn't avail me nothing. But it was knowledge of self. And I realized I can't win arguing with reality. It's just super clear. So you can have your little protestations, but,
Right.
yeah, something overrides us, thank God. All right, thanks. I think that's it. Let me say goodbye to everyone. Michael, I don't know how I got off. Nice to see you, Mike. Thanks for all the service. Al, always a
Hey,
pleasure.
Paul, real quick, I have a question while we're on here all together. On the 24th is Thanksgiving. Were you still planning on having a talk on Thanksgiving?
Oh,
24th?
probably. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
If we're not, there'll be a message on, but I don't see why not.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Yeah. I'm not a big holiday person, but whatever. Yeah. All right. We got Al. We got Bill C. Bill Church. We got Kerry. Always a pleasure. Tom up in Washington. Jack. Oh, Jack G. Always great to see him. Gail. Always a pleasure. Roman. Feeling good, Roman, eh? Health good. Great.
All fine. Thank you.
Great. Brian, nice to see you again. We got Joseph, as always. Carl. No, it's Kurt. Oh, Kurt, I almost called you Carl. Nice to see you, Kurt. John and Rob, what a dynamic duo there in Florida. Yeah. You should tell the authorities where you are, just in case, yeah. Maybe they don't want you back in Kentucky. Who knows? All right. Nina, as always. Nice to see you, Nina. We got Walter from the Netherlands. Stefan, from having never left. Alex, up in down Hudson Valley. We've got Dennis F. He just disappeared. There he is. Nice to see you, Dennis. Annette from the Philadelphia area. Sabrina, nice to see you. Thank you for coming, honey. Yep. Let's see. We've got Bruce, Lucas, Oliver, Kim, Gil. I like the lighthouse with Gil. We got Sena. Kim just flashed a heart. That's nice. I think we lost somebody. We have, I hope I get this right. Ketchy.
Oh, and Keiichi. Yeah. Hi,
Keiichi.
Paul.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course.
Yep. And I think that's it. Hey, see you guys. We'll be around today at 4:30 Pacific time with a non-duality talk. It's on the same website. Just punch in. We'll open a meeting room about 4:20 Pacific time. So come on up if you like. Come on in.
Hey, Paul,
I want to delve into something. Well, we'll see. We'll go into it today at 4:30. All right. See you guys.
okay, Rob, you still on there?